It's short king summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's short king summer. Amazing. We did it. We finally got an intro video on the channel. 6 months into having a YouTube channel, my good friend Lou Dog from the Deposit Kingdom made an intro video. We do definitely need, as Bindle says, we need the click clack intro specifically for this show. This show, of course, is the Week 7 using a computer to solve fantasy football for good show in which myself, Davis Mattek, gets guided by Nerdy Tenors, Computer, and Brian Hooper heckles and tells me not to overrule the computer. I look forward to this every single week, guys. Let's do it. Brian, what do you think about the title today? Is this better? Is this worse? Is it kind of on par? Where are we? Are the titles getting worse or better?
No, I liked it. I liked it. Yeah, I still would have went with The Sims Will Get You Laid, guaranteed. But that might be too far. I like how Short Kings support Short Kings. You got Lou Dog helping you out.
Yeah, I mean, look, basically, I just realized that I think not having an intro video is killing these videos on the secondary. Like when the stream is done, I like because also I've realized this. I wonder if anyone else has noticed this. Just views in general for fantasy football stuff, at least for my stuff, is going down as the season continues. I think because people are already running out of money. Their fantasy teams are dead. But we're going to help them win some money today, Dan. You're in your NORAD bunker. You're locked in.
Yeah, I'm going to adjust my light.
He's got to adjust the lighting. Brian, the Chicago Bears they're on bye this week. How do you feel about that? Are you bummed out? You haven't. I guess you haven't been able to play them on the last 2 slates.
No, I'm not bummed. It's good because then I could just watch Red Zone in peace, without having to go, man, I probably should be watching the Bears game, but I'm not. Red Zone's just so much better experience. Like we were talking about sweats yesterday. We did a video with BP and we were talking about sweating, and I was like, the Red Zone DFS combo is it's a solid sweat. You could watch like a lot of your players, and I don't know, it's tough. It's a tough sweat to beat.
How many Super Bowls would Caleb Williams have to win before you bought his jersey?
Oh my God. There's no amount. There's no amount.
If he won 3 Super Bowls, you wouldn't buy a Caleb Williams jersey. Would you paint your nails?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's reasonable then. That's reasonable.
No, not unless it was for a bit or a bet. Okay. So you don't wear a grown man's name on your back, Davis. That's what kids do.
Well, I do. Always, constantly.
No?
I have many Chiefs jerseys, many basketball jerseys. What about you, Dan? Would you wear a Bo Nix jersey?
No, but I have a Pat Surtain jersey. Unfortunately, Pat Surtain is out.
He is. Yeah, I hope you have that accounted for in the Primetime Palooza Sims.
I was thinking, no, I need to redo my formula because the acceptable jersey limit for a man I did was like the reverse of the dating thing, where it's like half your age plus 7 is acceptable. So it's twice your age minus 7. But then I'm getting so old now that it's like ridiculous that there's no play. They're all dead. So it's only like Red Grange is like the only jersey I could buy. So it's got to be like something a little less punitive.
Would you wear a Walter Payton jersey?
Oh God, that's the cut. That's like the cutoff. How old would Payton be right now? Like 63 or something?
To me, he's 100. Like
no. Take a guess. How old is Peyton Manning?
Walter Payton, 74. That's my
Actually,
guess.
he might be that because his kid is probably like late 30s now.
Oh well, he died. I'd forgotten that, but he was born in 1953, so he would be in his 80s.
What?
Yeah. Fascinating content. All right, guys. We are drafting teams in Underdog Battle Royale Week 7. Dan, give a real quick rundown of what we are going to be doing today. I assume nothing has been changed in the software.
Software-wise, no. I have a completely unrelated project that I've been hammering on pretty hard for the last week, so no changes. I will say I'm noticing a change in the output, which can only be a function of the slate and the projections. So it's stacking. So in last week's battle royale, when I did the numbers at the end, it was stacking with 2 receivers, like, I don't know, 15-ish% of the time. On this slate, it's way down for whatever reason. It's like 6. And I don't know why that would be. I could dig into the data later. There must be a couple teams that it thought it was viable on, and there isn't something comparable this week. So,
well, there are some super high totals and some super concentrated offense. Yeah, it's just a very good slate. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's jam into our first one. What methodology? What methodology do we want to use first?
well, I only have one ready, so let's just use that one.
All right, we will go to the one that we have ready first. Which is this the ADP regression?
No, this is a blend of real projections, real industry projections as of an hour ago. And full disclosure, I had no time to check on NFL news, so
that's fine.
Weird.
Hopefully, the majority of those have it right, and if one, it's the kind of thing where if one of them has a guy in who's not playing, it won't move the needle anyway. So we'll see if anything weird appears.
Well, yeah, it would. There aren't a ton of Q spots this week. Like
no,
everyone. Well, actually, I lied. There's a mega one. It's Jordan Mason. So Jordan Mason is a 6th round pick, but I'm gonna guess everyone has him projected in because he's gonna play, and he should be projected as one of the best plays of the slate. And then Cooper Kupp is the other big one. Cooper Kupp, if he is in any of these, he's going to be projected for a lot of points, as he should be, which is, I mean, that is an interesting spot. I think on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you do want to be drafting a lot of these guys. Like I have a lot of Jordan Mason thus far. Brian, I thought of something that would be super helpful for the caddy. It would be amazing to have a tab that tracked your ownership. Because I get into these spots a lot of times where I just draft the same players a lot, and I end up with two like oh shit, I had 50% of my teams have Deebo Samuel on them. Like I like him, but I don't know if I like him that much, type thing.
I think that was just added.
Wow. All right, there we go. I haven't updated here in the Google Chrome window.
You wouldn't have seen it yet, anyways.
All right, we have the first pick.
Oh, whoops. All right. Here we go. Sorry, I was looking at those Q guys.
Let me ask.
I'm probably if it wants me to take Kyron or I'm an overrule because
Kyron, and then Jefferson is next.
So I'll tell you why, from a strategy perspective, why I'm doing that. Jefferson is not going to fall in ADP, so there are only so many opportunities to get him.
Yeah.
And I feel strongly from an exploitative perspective that he is just as good of a play as Kyron, if not better. And so I don't feel strongly enough to say I want, what would the math be? 32% of Kyron and 0% of Jefferson when I have the first pick. So I just want 16% of each of them.
Makes sense.
St. Brown before Barkley, you don't see that a lot. Kind of interesting. Revenge game. You got that? You got that in The Sims? Do you have a button to press for when a guy plays his old team and is going to get a touchdown?
Yeah,
definitely. He didn't even tell me that. I just knew he wouldn't forget, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dan is a sophisticated computer programmer. He would know to press the revenge button.
He's got the birthdays in there.
So I'm looking at my projection sets. So all of them have Mason playing, but one of them has him looks like a little downgraded. So we'll probably
that's probably the right way to do it.
Uh-huh.
That's probably honestly that is probably the right way to do it. All right, we are up.
So now, what? Okay, it's saying what? Chuba Hubbard, Bijan Robinson.
I knew Chuba is going to be the Ramondre this week.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Is he high in people's projections?
So
Yeah.
I think Leone has him as the running back 4. I think he's like the same points. All right, I took Bijan just for
Bijan.
strategy reasons.
No, it's still like because it still likes Chuba after taking him. But if you don't want to do that, says Joe Mixon, Jaden Reed, Brock Bowers, the next 3.
All right, Bowers. There we go. We have some alignment between myself. So there is a very interesting strategy thing this week, and this was actually the thing I was most curious how the Sims would handle, because it feels like to me something that the Sims would have trouble with.
Okay.
Which is that there are 3 tight end plays that are like slam dunks, 4 points better than everyone else.
Okay.
Bowers, Kittle, and Kelsey.
Uh-huh.
And there's like a huge drop off to the next year. I was just wondering how it would prioritize basically the fact that if you don't take those guys in the 3rd round, you're not getting them. Then you're just getting a shitty 6th round tight end.
It should be figuring that out, actually. That's one of the things I would expect it to figure out pretty well.
Okay.
But I would imagine it's going to be it's like a fork in the road. It's elite tight end early or wait till the very last round, I think is probably what we're going to see, right?
Yeah, I don't think you want to be taking a ton of Laporta
or
early. Kincaid or any of those. Like I think this week is a great week to say Zach Ertz, Colby Parkinson, to just take these guys who are 5% drafted or whatever, I think is a very good week, as opposed to just Laporta, who the caddy has at 69% owned, 69% drafted.
Yeah.
So I also looked at Cooper Kupp, and that situation and the projections I have is a little different. 2 of them have him in and 1 has him out.
Yeah.
So we're probably not going to get much of him at all just using that.
That is fine by me. I'm if Cooper Kupp is what you need this week, and I need to, I'll make up for that on Saturday. I'll take a bunch of him on Saturday. I don't feel, because swapping wide receivers gets real fraught. Swapping running backs is easy, but swapping wide receiver, it can fuck with your stacks.
Yeah. Oh, I could see how that would be the case. All right, here we are.
We are up.
So we have JJ, Bijan, and Bowers at the moment. It's saying Sam Darnold here. It's like, what are the chances somebody takes him though? If we
0%.
So let's just do something else. This is Jordan Mason, Deebo Samuel.
Let's do Deebo.
Yeah. Like who?
So again,
that
is the sim. Well, I'll get back to that point after we make the pick here. Who does it want?
Oh yeah, we're next. It's saying Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Jordan Mason in that order.
All right, let's do Pollard on this one. Jones is not going to play, but it's fine for that to be a swap. I have no issue taking him for a swap. So that is interesting though, that it still did kind of want Mason even after selecting Deebo. That is.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, I find it's less averse to those than a lot of smart people would be, and I'm not sure if it's smart or not. My guess is that people like you are probably onto something, but it's probably a relatively
they're actually going to replace each other positionally. Like if Mason doesn't get there this week, it's probably because Deebo is taking his halfback snap. So the Darnold thing, I was actually very interested that it wanted him there, because there's another element this week where there's one really good quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and then literally probably 15 guys who you could make an argument for drafting.
So that it could just be noise that it was like, because it has to imagine what happens in the rest of the draft. So it's like, oh, this one time I took my correlated quarterback, like I made 1 million points, and like it didn't even matter what happened after that. So it could be that. It's probably. Oh, somebody took. Oh, my computer is being weird. Okay, here we go. Or it could have just been like, oh, there was this one time where I passed him, and for some inexplicable reason, someone else grabbed him, and then I got screwed. But I think it's probably the first thing. It's probably just a little bit noisy.
I got an idea, Dan. After this pick,
Yeah.
I assume it's going to want us to take Darnold, but it might want us to take Purdy.
Yeah. Let's see.
There also I also have an idea that Peter's video that comes out on Friday on the Deposit Kingdom. I think one of the things he's going to do is he's going to talk about taking Darnold with your 5th round pick and Jordan Addison with your 6th round pick, which would fuck up the math on how much he's owned.
Okay.
What?
It's Purdy and Darnold fighting it out in the Sims. It's pretty tight.
You're like such a small part of the field that it's not going to fuck up anything.
Darnold is winning but not by a. No, he's winning.
No, Peter's video is not a small part of the field.
So, you're saying if everyone who watches his video does it,
or well, if even 500 people who watch his video do that, that changes the math on how much Darnold is owned and how much you would want him.
Yeah. So it liked your team. Good bit.
How much money did we make on that team?
How many virtual dollars? $16.28.
Wow. All right, we're up $16 to begin.
Well, that's not profit. That's payout. You have to subtract the 7 from that.
Okay, so we're up $9.
I understand.
Yes, this is what I'm saying.
I understand
that's a market maker.
I'm saying I don't think it would work that way, even granting that. Because if you take Darnold in the 5th or the 6th, who cares? What am I missing here?
It changes how much Darnold is owned, period. It takes Darnold from being only combinatorially owned with Jefferson at a pretty low rate to making Darnold a more common player and giving your opponents leverage on your 101 selection with Addison, because points that Addison scores, Jefferson can't score.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Combinatorial, I guess, ownership I still understand, because he'd still be drafted the same whether he was in the 5th or the 6th.
That part, forget that part. That part is irrelevant to what I'm saying.
That's the only thing I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay.
No, it takes Darnold from being drafted in 3% of drafts to 10% of them.
Okay, got it. Before we move on, I want to talk about the.
Yes.
What if you take the ADP or just even the ADP projections? This is probably too complicated, Dan, but just say you run my process first. Then you got a percent, and then you get a percent, like what round percentile draft buckets. So good players like 100% first round or like 99% first round, right? And then these other ones all have a different percentage for each round that they could be picked in. Then on yours, it's kind of a safety valve or a sanity check for your sim. So it would go, oh, I love Chuba Hubbard, but there's 100% chance based on this first calculation we already did that he's going to be available in the next round. Don't take.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. I think that is a specific solution to a more general issue, which is what you really want is you want to model your opponents separately from yourself, right? In order to do all of those kinds of things. So, yeah.
Which is pretty easy, kind of, with the ADP.
Well, the problem is, I think it's going to be the kind of thing where I could write something really ugly and sort of hack together that I would feel gross about, but would probably be pretty decent.
Sure.
I think it's hard to do it in a rigorous way. Like, would take a lot of study of exactly how your opponents actually play to model that.
Well, couldn't you do what I said? Is you run it just with those projections, and then you get a percentage per round.
It's probably better than nothing. The problem is that using what I have now is still going to draft differently because so using the ADP stuff is going to get the order within each position basically correct. But the interplay and the interleaving and ordering of which positions get picked when is still pretty different. Because it's going to be thinking about how I should play given these things, not how people actually play, right? So it'll get you part of the way there.
Well, and I think we're just really trying to wash out the egregious errors. So part of the way probably gets you 95% of the way.
But
because
I might drill down on what an error is too. Like, so there's a question here which is worth hovering on, which is that whenever you have something that's doing something very different from the field, you have to decide whether you like it or not. It might be great. Like, you want your process to be behaving differently in order to be profitable, right? So the question is, how do you determine, like, ideally you'd like to be able to flag specific things and say, you know, you keep giving me this thing.
You keep giving me Ramondre Stevenson in the second round. You should learn.
Either. Well, you don't want. I don't think you want it to learn. I think that's the wrong answer because.
Interesting.
Because you don't want to. I don't want to assume that every outlier is an error, and I also don't want to assume every outlier is that my process is super smart. Like, ideally, you'd like to be able to say, okay, you know what? For this one, it's either for diversity reasons or I don't trust it for some other reasons. You know, could you tone it down a little bit on this guy? Enough is enough.
Yeah.
Not super convinced this smash you think it is.
So we're in 100% agreement. I'm like giving my solution.
Yeah.
Right. And arguing with you when I already agree. I agree with you 100%. Whatever the solution may be, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, first thought would be just the sanity check. That's like not good, not great, but it doesn't matter. It's like if it goes Chuba Hubbard one round later or something, that's good enough.
Right.
You know?
I think there's probably ways that you could. So I've seen this in the DFS context. In fact, the last thing I was working on, where like there's this curve of EV where, so I have this model for this completely unrelated game, right? And it tries to predict the EV of things, and the things that thinks are kind of close to break even are actually losing because the model's not perfect, right? And then there's this curve where, like, as the prediction gets higher and higher, the EV starts to go up to a point, and then when it gets way too high, the EV actually comes down a bit because, and my interpretation is, the super outliers that is saying, oh my God, this thing is super valuable, are because it fucked up in some way, right? It thought there was this huge opportunity, but there actually was not such a great opportunity. So, like, the solution there is to tamp down the outliers. So in that sense, what I would say for here is, like, you could basically measure the degree of the delta between your average ADP in your process and what the field is doing. And if that exceeds some threshold, you just put some kind of dampening on it.
But sometimes it might be right, though.
I know,
that's where you'd run into an issue, like the Jordan Mason thing in week 2. Like, Jordan, you could have argued the right time to start taking Jordan Mason was in round. I don't remember if he even got there, but the results don't even matter. Like, if you were smart that week in week 2, you could have had 100% Jordan Mason, which would have been not only exploitatively good, but actually if we could backdate the projections, it would have been, the projections would have said, take Jordan Mason round 2 every time, never skip him.
Right. But I think here we have an advantage in this game because I think one heuristic that just makes a ton of sense is, like, if your system or process or whatever it is, computer or otherwise, is consistently having you take a guy more than one round ahead of everyone else, then you can just delay a round. Yeah. Like, that's just free. Right. So obviously do that one. And
I
then
understand what you're saying too, Davis,
Yeah.
with the Jordan Mason thing, but Dan's still right. Like, if you could
Yes.
get a free round, you take the free round.
of course,
Yes.
yeah.
No, like 100%. I'm just saying it's interesting the balance between doing the exploitative thing and the GTO thing, and like there's like there's like a little bit of a feel game there of being like, well, because eventually people got wise to it, right? So, and actually we're already seeing this. Like people, I mean, I've been doing these since Monday. On Monday, I could get Chuba Hubbard in the last pick every time. Now Leone's projections have been published on ETR, so Hubbard is going sometimes in the third round. Like, which is that changes the, if you could know that, because what happens with BR is the ADP gets stale very quick because there are only so many. I mean, there's 55,000 divided by 6. There just are not that many drafts, you know. All right,
a bit of drafts. But like the GTO thing too. Like, we have a lot of information here where we don't from DFS. So I do feel like it should be, the ultimate solution should have some sort of context, some sort of that ADP info in there, be it a safeguard or an actual exploitive piece or something like that, because you don't have actual drafted data for DFS. Like, if we could look at, oh my God, everyone, this is how many people have taken Justin Jefferson at 7,200 on DraftKings. Well, that matters quite a bit, you know, and then you change your strategy, and GTO would change too, because those inputs would be in your GTO. So like, it just feels like wasted alpha by not having this glaring predictive information
Right.
there. So
No, it's true. And just to reiterate for people who haven't watched, like, I have no illusions that the thing I've created is the best possible thing or the highest EV thing. Like, it's obviously not. It can't be the way I've done it, right?
It's getting at something though. What my
Right.
experience is based on when we first did this video to now, it's clearly getting there. It's forming into something that, like, maybe next year we do this and we just win every week. Every week our teams sim the best, and not we win every week, but our teams sim in post contest sim incredibly well. Let's do a Brian, let's do this post contest sim after this next draft.
All right.
yeah, okay. But before I say, I want to say, like, there's never been a product developed like this, like there hasn't, where we're openly doing the alphas versions, talking it through with a no baller, with a bunch of people, thousands of people watching. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of actually interesting, because when you make your own stuff by yourself, like, no one's there going like, hey dummy, this is clearly.
Are you saying that you think it's making this tool better, or it's
I think
making
it's making this tool better? That's exactly my point. Yeah.
Oh, so I think that's true. I also think it's so interesting that people who are watching this video, I would guess mostly, are not watching it to see what the sim says and then copying it. They're watching it to say, fucking Dan Sim is shitty. It's telling him to take Ramondre early. Like, it's so bad. I'm not doing that.
Oh, I'm sure there's a couple bros who are popping Ramondre early, or Chuba. They're going to do Chuba.
Well, we did. So that's the one instance of market making where I think we actually did impact the field, was after that video, Ramondre did jump up like 4 positional ADP spots. That's the only time I've noticed it, though.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the people don't have to worry, because ask me how I did last weekend.
How'd you do?
I did not do well. Can you guess which round 1 pick I was extremely underexposed to?
Henry.
That would be correct. I
Yes,
had very
same.
little Derrick Henry.
Huh.
It doesn't tell me how many I entered, but I entered a lot of money last week, and I only got $443 back. Do you know why I only got $443 back? 5.5% Chris Godwin.
Not enough Godwin.
Not enough and actually more Henry than I thought. 7.6% Henry, but yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask something. This would be a completely unnecessary project, but wouldn't you think it'd be interesting if you could force into the solver, into your your code that like had who's number one this week? I didn't even look at the number one pick.
Justin Jefferson.
Whatever. Justin Jefferson is 100% owned, but you force more teams than rightfully could be there somehow that have Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
And then would he still be 100% drafted? Because my DFS brain looks at all these 100% drafted guys and going like, I'm not taking a 100% drafted guy and 60,000 lineups. He's in all of them, but the solver says you still should take these guys. I just find that pretty fascinating. It's like they still want us to always take the 100% owned guys
because they project so well.
Well, yeah. and it's because not every team can have them because only 1 out of 6 each time can have them. Right. So if you allow
it's 18
to have 6 to 6 take them, they all get Justin Jefferson. What point does he stop being 100% owned? I think that would just be kind of interesting. You can't ever use that info. It would just be totally for science reasons. But
it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, like what
a little
point?
Hard to implement, actually.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to like replace every first rounder in like X percent of the drafts with Justin Jefferson or something.
And then
And then
I wanted to comment on one thing. So I did a little research here. So as I stated before, like so 1/3 of my projections has Cooper Kupp out. And I was like, well, what percent does I think he should draft given that fact? He still came in around 9%. So he didn't go to 0, but he went pretty low.
You should. Here's I will give a little bit of alpha to people who are just learning VR. I will give you a legitimate secret. If you take Cooper Kupp, take him as your 3rd wide receiver, 1-1-3-1, then you can swap him to a good running back. You basically are either free rolling him or you're free rolling like Jordan Mason or Devin A-Chain, like a really good play. So you are. I don't know a way to articulate that in terms of EV, but it's insanely good. It's like free EV.
Yeah. So just to put some bounds on that, that's one of the things that my stuff cannot solve for is the swap equity. So if let's say the projections are exactly right and that I have right now, and there's a 2/3 chance that he plays. Okay.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
I'd put it at about that.
2/3 he plays a normal load and 1/3 he doesn't play at all. It's not exact, but so, and then my stuff spits out 9%. Well, that should be a floor for anyone playing because it's not accounting for the fact that if he doesn't play, you don't get a 0, you get some other receiver, right? And if he does play, you get an ownership bonus because he's going to be played less because people know it's a risk. So that has to be considered a floor or for the estimate of how much he should be drafted.
Well, it's actually even better, too, because there's not another – I don't think there's another Q-tag wide receiver right now, particularly not another Q-tag wide receiver that people are playing. So unlikely that people can back into swaps for him. Whereas this always happens with running backs. Mm-hmm. People think like, oh, dude, I'm going to smash Bucky Irving. No one's going to have him. And then you realize a bunch of people were taking Q-tag running backs on Monday, and they're just going to move Bucky Irving way up their swap ranks, and Bucky Irving is going to be 80% drafted or whatever. Yeah.
David, you talk in YouTube. What is it called? The title of videos?
Clickbait.
Yeah, you go, I will give you a legitimate secret this week. That's like, okay, that's the title.
A legitimate secret to win Battle Royale.
There you go.
My only problem with your title this week is you said we're going to solve it for good. Just to clarify, we'll be back next week. This isn't.
We will be back, but the process will be wholly refined. Like that's it. We're done. We're done. Yeah.
He meant for good this week, week 7. It says it right there.
Yes.
Week 7.
Yeah. For week 7, we've solved it for good for the next 72 hours.
Yeah, because week 7 is the end of football.
Yeah.
There will be no week 8.
That's right.
All right. What do we got? We got the 3.
Is there any interesting ownership here?
Ooh, good question.
You know what, Brian? I actually did realize something pretty interesting, and I don't know if it's the impact of people getting better at the game. I don't know if it's because this slate is so good but we run out of 100% owned guys earlier this week. Metcalf, Walker, Diggs, Debo, Reed, Deontay. Normally, the wide receiver 12, the wide receiver 10 is 100% drafted 100% of the time. I've never seen the field pass on the wide receiver 10 entirely, or the running back 4 entirely, like never. Yeah. But this week it will happen. You will get a draft where Kenneth Walker does not go.
And my Sims agree. So my Sims are always going to have less 100% drafted players than the field. But just anecdotally, it looks like it reaches that point much sooner this week.
I imagine since the caddy has ownership now, though, Davis, you're definitely paying more attention to like the.
Yes, although I'm a phone shitter, bro. I mean, I draft 95% of these on my phone, but I do them on Monday and Tuesday on the computer. Okay, maybe a little bit of hyperbole. Maybe Walker, maybe Joe Mixon.
Our pick is up, though. We're up.
Yeah, we have him at 98% or whatever.
It'll be Kyron.
It says Kyron, yeah. Yeah, it says Kyron.
Maybe that was not the best. Maybe I don't know. Maybe use Metcalf as your example. Use Jahmyr Gibbs as your example. David Montgomery as your example.
Yeah, if you want me to look up what my process thinks a player should be drafted, I can do that very easily.
I wanted to highlight a comment. Someone said thanks for the draft caddy. They were like they won NBA best ball.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go, you're welcome. I didn't even know NBA best ball worked on the draft caddy on DK.
Stefan almost had a shipper last week. Just needed a called back Jameson Williams touchdown to stand. So we are helping people.
Behind Davis, I can't see that.
Oh shit. My bad.
It's okay. I'll catch up.
That's good ASMR here too.
Okay, I've caught up. Guess who? Oh wait, Joe Mixon, our good friend Chuba Hubbard, Neighbors, Pollard.
We'll do Neighbors.
Neighbors.
We'll do Neighbors.
He's 100% playing. It looks like it if he's getting drafted all the time.
Yeah, he's good.
I have him in my team, my real IRL team.
Earl.
The people do want this. They want one of these where Dan's sharing his screen and all the typing.
You think you want that, but
no, I actually don't think that makes.
Is it the same console you use for everything else?
Well, I mean, I'm running it in a terminal, but
the terminal looks the same. Well, they could sign up. They could sign up for Endgame and look at his terminal.
That's true.
We did it
we do have some stuff there but that was more for human consumption than this is. This is like okay.
Right, I'm hoping that the sim wants me to take Travis Kelce.
It has 3 running backs listed first. Oh no, Kelce is in second place behind our good friend Chuba Hubbard. So you can take Kelce. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to make a tie break away from Hubbard. Not that I won't ever take him here. If all the tight ends were gone, I would have been totally fine.
Yeah, let's observe when Hubbard is getting picked. I'd like to start tracking that. Because it feels like we should not be taking him in the first 3 rounds.
What is his ownership? I guess I could bring it up, huh?
87.5%, which feels about right.
Okay, so Chuba got taken literally next after you. That's funny. Okay, so 3rd round.
Well, this is a little bit of a Schrodinger's draft thing where someone observing the stream they're going to be like, oh, well, maybe Hubbard is a pretty good pick.
I'm sure he's fine. It's just we shouldn't be taking him 2 rounds earlier than everyone.
No, he is like I think ETR has him projected for more raw points than both of the Lions guys. Who go directly after him.
Did
or directly before.
Did Washington get drafted? I'm sorry. Did the Battle Royal last week get filled?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure.
Right. So they won 50K and it filled. That's nice.
Yep. So now it's saying Jordan Mason, Stephon Diggs. Mason and Diggs. Mason is winning. Pollard has now popped.
We'll do Mason because that is instructive of playing. It's funny, we're doing this GTO type thing, but that is exploitative ass play right there. That is saying the field is wrong. The field thinks Mason's not playing. Mason is playing, and the consequences of missing on Mason are so low because your computer doesn't even know this, but the consequences of not playing, of taking Mason are so low because you could just swap him for another really good running back.
You might not have refreshed in a while, Davis. Chuba's 73%.
Well, that is low. That's wrong.
Probably not that wrong, buddy. Probably not that wrong.
So it's saying what? Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's saying Mahomes, Purdy, Jones. So a correlated quarterback, which doesn't make a lot of. It's saying Tyreek Hill.
That's interesting.
Deebo Samuel, if you want to get two.
Who's winning?
Purdy, Hill. It's very tight. It's like
we got Pat.
We got Mahomes. Probably didn't need to take him there, but
no, we didn't. But that's fine.
It's fine.
We could with the draft caddy stuff actually model out percent chance being drafted pretty easily. So 2nd round, 3rd round, 1st round, 5th round. And then if greater than or if less than X threshold, go ahead, pick. If greater than, we'll wait, and then just have some sort of risk tolerance there or something.
Yeah, I like that.
I'd like if you have time in between these picks, I'd like to know the draft percentage for Josh Jacobs and A-Chain.
Sure. Jacobs.
We're up next pick though.
Okay, Hawk. Someone picked Hawk. Richardson got picked. Okay, it's saying Tyreek is winning. Then it's T. Higgins. It's got Tyreek, T, Worthy, Ayuk.
Look at that. Look at me knowing. I mean, I just duped the queue.
T is winning by it's bopping around. Tyreek and T are winning. They're basically the same.
I did T.
He's so proud when the Sims agree with him, and then when they disagree, he wants to overrule. Like, what's the point?
I think I have not been overruling them.
Just Chuba this week.
I've been doing some light auditing too, like when it occasionally does something that's obviously noisy.
When it says Will Mallory, you're like, yeah.
We all know that keyboard's not plugged in, Dan. You could stop with the charade.
So it gave you $11.85 for that one.
Okay.
So I liked you. So you wanted me to look up some guys, Brian?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. Okay. I don't know. I'm just in this range. This scroll down range looks pretty.
So it says my stuff is drafting Josh Jacobs in 53.9% of draft.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought. That was too low. We have him at 18 point something.
Who else?
A-Chain or A-Chan?
I have him at it's A-Chan or I think it's
he says A-Chan, I think.
A-Chan, yeah. 34.3%.
We have him at 16. What about Kareem Hunt, just for shits and gigs?
You weren't supposed to say that, dude. I literally wasn't even gonna say his name. He's the secret play of the whole slate. I wasn't even gonna take him on this show.
I have him 18.5.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess Davis doesn't totally agree with you.
That's fine if I'm 18% of the pool.
Well, he's getting picked 16 at least now.
Oh, he's close to my number. Okay.
Yeah. So, but what was A-Chain? A-Chan
was 34.3.
Okay, so that's still pretty good, but Josh Jacobs is looking like
he was the biggest delta.
The biggest delta.
It's the percentage difference you care about too. So Field is at what?
18.9.
Yeah, this is 18.2. So that's like a 3x.
That's crazy.
Huge
what about
delta.
Brian Robinson Jr.?
Robinson Jr.
He's another pretty secret play. Well, he's
42.4 is what I get.
It's about that on. Davis, did you see Dan put up his optimal percentages on Endgame last week?
For the positional allocations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I commented back in the Discord. That
Right. Oh, that's right.
that roughly reflected how I feel. I also wanted to mention this for this week. So basically, I would say 99.5% of the ones that we have done, we've taken to running backs. This is like an unbelievably good week to take 3 wide receivers. Like a crazy good week to take 3 wide receivers.
So I will post the numbers on Endgame probably tomorrow or Friday for people who want to see that.
Are you doing free or behind the wall paywall?
I think that'll be behind the wall. But
Okay.
I will say that my Sims agree more wide receiver triple stacks are appearing, and just anecdotally, I ran 3 test drafts this morning, and one of my test drafts I had 3 receivers. So but it's also, before you go, Brian, sorry.
No, please.
It's important to note that, so for people who aren't familiar with these kinds of techniques and strategies, in an equilibrium strategy, the percentages are not opinionated. A higher percentage of choosing A over B doesn't mean A is better than B. It doesn't mean that. So that's important. It's what it should be according to the process. And then if it's off, you should be moving in the other direction. So, for instance, if you think a quarter of teams should have 3 receivers, but like a third of the field is doing that, then the field is making a mistake by doing it too often. It doesn't mean that you should never have 3 wide receiver teams. It's just what the quote unquote optimal percentage is. So I just wanted to point that out. It's not reflecting a preference in EV of one over the other. It's just saying this is how often I expect to be doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, well, the way I was treating it before was I was like, I think I was doing it in a non-educated way. I was being like, the field shouldn't be doing it. Maybe the field should be doing 3 wide receiver, I don't know, 18% of the time. I want to say maybe that was the number that was in the chat. And I was like, I don't even want to start doing the complex balancing of remembering what I did when. I'm just taking 2 running back every single time because it's better fit for the game we're playing in terms of the scoring and the constructions. But this week, I really, because I'm like, oh, Deebo Samuel or Jaden Reed as my flex versus Brian Robinson Jr. Like Jaden Reed is just a lot of times scoring more points, so I want more of that.
Yeah, and I will say that number is up again. I'll give the exact number in the end game chat later.
Yeah.
Also, I will say that so I said at the beginning, double stacking is way down this week, which I thought was really interesting. And then naked quarterbacks is up this week.
That makes 100% sense because Daniels doesn't have to be stacked to hit a winning lineup at all. In fact, maybe you'd rather him not be. All of Josh Allen's stacking options are ass, but he's the quarterback too. And then after that, it just falls off a cliff. Like Hurts, you might rather have naked or whatever. And then from quarterback 4 to quarterback 13, it's like I can make a case that Anthony Richardson, who's the quarterback 13, is a better pick than Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Purdy, Mahomes, Goff, these guys, like, who cares? What's the difference? You know, there basically is not one.
And I'm looking at the numbers here. I beefed up my my query capability for this tool a little bit last week, and this makes perfect sense. So generally speaking, the worse the quarterback, the more likely you are to stack him with a receiver, which makes sense. It's very similar in baseball to if you're playing a bad player, you're much more likely to have him in a stack than as a one-off for the same reason.
Yeah. That's interesting, though, because guys like Fields is not on this slide, but guys like Fields and Richardson, I would argue you don't want stacked.
I'm sure there are cases that don't match. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. But
Jared Goff, you would never want to do without Laporta, St. Brown, J-Mo,
right.
whoever.
And so, like, Jared Goff is unstacked 11% of the time. which is pretty low. And then, but somebody like, oh shit, my terminal just crashed. I'll have to log back in. That's okay. But yeah, somebody like Josh Allen is going to be unstacked a ton, right?
Yeah, you should want. In fact, again, I mean the ADPs for McLaurin and Jaden Daniels like line up perfectly. That they're always going together now. It's like I haven't been big on that combo any week that these games have existed, and I think it's like even worse now because McLaurin is expensive now. Like you're taking McLaurin over Diggs or Debo, which just feels to me so bad.
That is an interesting observation on how this type of tool could help you too, though, Dan and Davis. Like the Josh Allen thing or the reverse. Is it's hard to think of that stuff in real time, where the tool might be like, no, don't take Josh Allen because I know that, or I'm guessing that Diggs and Diggs, who's their wide receivers now, Coleman, whatever, are going to get picked. Are going to get picked before you can get them, theoretically. So we're going to skip it. And you're just like going like, oh no, he's staring me right in the face. Why am I not taking him? Or it might wait because it wants to do the golf thing or something. So there is a difference between the live tool aspect and the numbers Dan will eventually post on Endgame. But I did want to mention another thing, eventually I think Dan's still okay with this, is posting the optimals for players. Or maybe we might even just upload them on the Draft Caddy, depending on how easy that'll be to implement. But if you are drafting live, if you got the the optimal percentages for the construction, and you got the optimal percentages for the players to be drafted, the ownership numbers, right, which we already have.
Yeah.
And you kind of just use Dan's strategy of you want somewhere in between the two numbers. So you want, he has Josh Jacobs at whatever it was, 50 some percent owned, and we have him projected at 18% owned. Well, probably 35 is probably about right, or whatever, just as long as you're over the ownership. And it's just so easy just to look at those numbers staring right next to you and draft. And then your construction you could do based on the positional, the double stacks or whatever the thing is for that week. You can't, you might want to overlay your exposures too, to see how much you've been drafting of each individual player,
right,
which you can grab with Draft Caddy too. But I don't know. That's what I'm planning on doing as soon as Dan releases the optimal percentages. Because I don't know, I know Josh Jacobs should probably be higher than 18%. I kind of knew that intuitively, but I didn't know how much. Where, you basically, all you can do right now is look at, without knowing ball, is look at your exposures and look at the draft optimal. Look at how much their ownership is projected for. It's okay, he's at 18. I have 15%. Should I be over that?
Are we putting that in the caddy? We're putting Dan's percentage in the caddy?
We might.
Maybe.
Pretty good tool, man. People should be lining up for it.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, quick quiz. All right, you want to play quick guess the number? All right.
Yes.
How often in my stuff is Josh Allen naked? So I'm defining naked as no tight end or wide receiver on his team.
54% of the time.
I'm gonna go less than that, but there's not a lot of Bills wide receivers getting picked, huh?
There's none. There's no Bills wide receiver that's draftable.
No, Shakir got drafted.
He shouldn't be, though.
Okay. I'll still go under, whatever, 30, 40%.
76.1%.
A lot. So.
A lot. Rosen.
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant higher.
I said it the other way. Okay.
I said it backwards.
All right. I'll do one in the mid-range quarterback. Let's Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy naked, unstacked.
Unstacked Purdy.
He should be unstacked 13% of the time. That might even be too high.
0.
Yeah,
Eight-
zero is my ball knowing answer, but I don't know what the computer's gonna say.
Computer thinks 18%. Okay, and then the
Yeah.
last one, I'll pick something really, really gross. No, that's not gross enough. Oh God. Well, these numbers are too small to mean. I need something where it's been drafted at least.
Richardson.
Richardson. Okay, I'll find Richardson.
I'm gonna guess Richardson is unstacked 84% of the time, but he's drafted so infrequently that
Right.
it's gonna be.
I'll tell you,
wonky.
he only got drafted 42 times in my set of like thousands and thousands of drafts.
Well,
he barely got drafted at all.
He should. People take that away. I'll give away another little free bit. If you're drafting 150 teams, and you don't have at least 5 Richardsons, you are not playing the game with a ball knower's cap on.
There you go. So let's do a different example because this is a ball knower one. Let's do a dumber one. Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell should be stacked 100% of the time.
And that is exactly correct. That is what the software does. He's never by him.
Yeah, never by him because his rushing. He might even be projected for negative rushing yards. I mean, that's the way to think about it. Is what you do. What are the odds this guy scores a rushing touchdown, and then you use that to.
Oh, interesting.
That's how you'd hack it.
Davis, this is your week, man. I'm looking. Pat Mahomes only 18% projected owned.
Yeah, and it's not me. I'm not taking him.
You're not doing it, huh?
He has. You know, the last time he scored over 20 dog app points.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah.
So
I'm taking him. I'm taking him a little bit, but I'm not doing it on stage.
I do it.
My software says 27.8 on Mahomes.
Okay, so not that great, but still good. What about Geno Smith?
Geno, it loves Geno.
It's good. Love Geno. Yeah, that's it. That's a real inefficiency in ADP.
Yeah.
47.5.
Oh, okay, yeah, duh. So that's like so easy. You just look at that ownership and look at the optimal and go.
What is the current ownership?
4.5%.
4? Wow, that's not good.
Well, here I will. I'll ruin the fun for everyone. I'm not going to display it because this is behind a paywall. But I will tell you that ETR has Geno. Wow. Never mind. I take this way. I thought they would have him giga high in optimal rate, but they only have him 4.6% optimal rate. Well, actually, that's probably very high for the quarterback 10 or whatever. So maybe I'm wrong.
They have him optimal that high. Well, do they have him?
They have him as the quarterback 8, and they have him as a 27.5% positional top 5 rate.
But do they give ownership? I don't know.
They do not do ownership. No.
Huh. Well, let's say I'm wrong and it's 10 or 15, two standard deviations or whatever. We're still, you still should be taking them. So that seems like a no-brainer. So we got Josh Jacobs, Chuba Hubbard. We gotta do a team. We gotta do a Geno Smith, Josh Jacobs.
I probably won't take Jacobs, but we could do Geno.
What is there something wrong with Jacobs that the Sims would know about?
Yeah, he's ass.
Oh my god.
Well, here I'll show you what's wrong with Jacobs. Jacobs is running back 12, but is a worse play than Hunt, than A-Chain, than Mason, then probably he's equivalent to Chase Brown. If you sub in Ty Chandler for Aaron Jones, he's probably about the same.
You can lock in a big week from Josh Jacobs, people. Lock it in now.
14 carries, 47 yards, 3 touchdowns.
there it is. And 2 catches for like 2 yards.
Yeah. Okay. I was hoping we would get a turn pick because I really want to know, because the turn is very weird this week. So I want to know if it wants us to do Daniels and McLaurin.
Oh, okay.
This is certainly a weird week though, with the QBs are all over the place.
Yeah,
it's because it's such a good week. And Lamar not being on the slate also is a big wrench. Yeah. I'm just telling you guys, you can try and test your mush powers on Josh Jacobs. Do what you want, but at the end of the day, that means you're gonna have to have 50% Josh Jacobs. So really, really go with God on that one. I wouldn't advise it. If you want to test my mush powers, what you would actually do is you draft a shit ton of Mahomes and Worthy this week, because I'm probably not gonna have a ton of it. That would be a better way to test my mush powers. Okay. Jefferson, Kyron. It'll go Jefferson, Kyron, Barkley, Brown, Chase.
Probably.
The other thing I'm doing, especially after the last couple weeks, is sometimes I'm just skipping the second round picks entirely. Like I'm just going past Bijan Robinson and taking Kenneth Walker or whatever. Like just some combo stuff. Because if you're drafting a billion teams, you do want to do some. The whole slate falls on its ass. Get some weird. All right, Jane. Damn it, we don't get to test it.
Saquon. Oh, I'm sorry. Bummer. Well, no. Oh, that's. Jamar is at the top now.
Yeah, Jamar.
Purdy
Jamar
is up here. No Amon-Ra. Now our good friend Chuba, which we're not going to take. Amon-Ra, Drake, Mixon, Walker. Yeah, any of those guys.
We took
They're
Chase.
Chase, okay. Now it's saying, oh, that's fun. Amon-Ra, Jake, still. Amon-Ra, Walker, London, yeah. Kelsey is fourth at the moment. Bijan.
We'll do the chalk start. This is actually interesting. This will already put us into weird quarterback spot. What will it want us to do? Will it want us to take a naked quarterback? Will it want us to take Burrow? Will it want us to take Goff? Will it want us to this is
Okay.
This is why I'm not doing a ton of this pairing, because I don't want to be backed into knowing what I have to do at quarterback. I don't want to have particularly I don't want this team. Let me see if I can find the right way to verbalize this. I don't want all my Chase to be with Burrow. I for sure don't want all my St. Brown to be with Goff, but I also don't want all my Chase to be with Goff or all my St. Brown to be with Burrow either, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to have unstacked quarterbacks, so I don't like doing the wide receiver. I like to maintain the optionality, if any of that makes sense.
It makes sense. And anecdotally, I find that like the most common thing I found myself overriding in round 1 and round 2 was saying, no, I don't want to take 2 running backs, because it landed me in more places where I could make strategically advantageous decisions.
Yeah.
Like, especially if stuff falls to you, like if you've locked yourself out of running back, then you haven't given your opponents the opportunity of serving one up to you on a platter, right? Because there's no room for one. So, I mean, I haven't tried to quantify that effect. It sounds hard, but
you could tell me this week, by the way, that all 6th round picks win. That like Anthony Richardson, Brian Robinson Jr., Kareem Hunt, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, and Colby Parkinson is the winning roster. I would totally buy that.
So it's listing T. Higgins at the top. If you want to roll with you could also, yeah.
If we do that, I'm taking Burrow with the next pick and just
you could take Burrow now if you wanted to. It has
Doesn't matter either way, right?
Either way, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna whatever. You know.
Yeah. Wait, you're on the turn, Doug. Excuse me. Sorry, I forgot that little detail.
Well, I'm gonna take T.
Yeah. You just take Burrow and T. Yep, that's what it. If you take one, then it tells you to take the other. Yeah.
What is what's kind of interesting in an exploitive approach? It should want more double stacks this week since there's less played. But I know in a balanced approach, none of that matters. But
yeah, you know what's funny is everyone wanted to play double stacks last week because it won the week before. No one's doing double stacks this. I bet less than what's a good number? 8%. I bet less than 8% of the field does. No, way less. 3% of the field does double stacks this week
Well, that might not actually be far from the number I have.
from the optimal rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
probably
should
under, but
we should have that info up. By the way, Davis, like later today or tomorrow.
yeah, it's really just a question of when I want to cut off the projection sources. You know,
I was talking about the combos percentages that we do.
Combo percentages.
Yeah, that we're working on in the background. I think he should be done hopefully today. And then we can get it up on the caddy. So yeah, we'll have guesses at the 2 and 3 combo ownerships of the field. So
Yeah,
Smith and Hurts, and
that one could be extremely useful for spots where the field is doing something close to 100% of the time when it really shouldn't. There's going to be fine ones like, oh, this receiver is always stacked with, or this quarterback is always stacked with this receiver, and he shouldn't be.
And the weird ones. The weird ones, like we talked about on Lulz, Pete brought up once, was like, I can't remember who it was, but in BBM, whatever it was, 5, this last one, there was like, I don't know who it was, Davis. Was it like Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith for some weird reason were being taken together all the time just because of the ADP structure? And it's just like, oh, well, then clearly, you don't want to do that, you know?
Puka and Marv was a really good one from this year that you
I can't remember who it was, but it doesn't really matter. It's just the point. Like 2 guys you would never even think about were owned all the time.
It's running back and tight end time. So Brian Robinson Jr. appearing.
Wow. God, the sim is me. The sim is me and I'm the sim.
Now it's Aaron Jones. Now Aaron Jones is winning. But now it's Aaron Jones is winning the running back race at the moment.
I don't want to add Aaron Jones into my
Achane. Gibbs and Achane.
Yeah. I took Brian Robinson, and now we need
tight end.
I'm very curious who it wants us to take here.
It's listing Sam Laporta. I'm
not going to do Laporta with St. Brown.
Tucker Kraft. Kincaid is right behind Laporta. That's interesting. They're very close. There's it's Kraft, Laporta, Kincaid, Parkinson. They're all within a few dimes of each other. Yeah, we'll do
Kraft. So the reason why I didn't want to take Aaron Jones is I don't want, because this could break in such a way, like let's say somehow Achane and Mason don't play. I think Achane is almost a lock to play, but this could be a thing where I end up with 70% of my top swap owned running back. If Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Achane, and Brian Robinson don't play, theoretically I could have 80% of a running back, which I would not want. So trying to not take a ton of other Q guys, basically.
Okay. This one, it said $4.11.
Damn. That makes sense. The turn pick is weird and not that good.
Yeah.
What was it?
4.11.
God damn it. Now we have to get a job. Now we have to get a job.
Yeah.
Great work, Davis.
I'd be interested to do a study of my own stuff. It would be hard to do. In a real draft using my software, how much is it worth on average to take 2 receivers versus 1 and 1 versus 2 running backs by position when it's presented to you as a good option? Because there's a difference between what happens in theory and what happens in practice. I usually end up with teams anecdotally when I take 2 wide receivers on the first 2 picks that tend to be a little underperforming in my own stats. And I don't know if that's not super scientific, but I do wonder if the optionality is more important, especially when your opponents, not all of them are playing well. But
I'll say the optionality is important, almost for sure. It is.
Can I make a PSA?
Yeah, do your PSA for a minimum of 47 seconds while I go pee.
You got it. so there's a lot of like questions about what the model's doing, and does it take X into account and injuries, and I mean, it's been going the whole hour, so there's been a few of them. If you these shows, I mean, without a humble brag here, I guess, or not being humble, is you could go back and watch. I mean, how many of these have we done now? Like 6, I would say, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Go back and watch them, and we talk, especially the earlier ones. We pretty much spell out exactly what we're trying to accomplish and the changes that are being made and stuff like that. And if that's not enough for you, you can go to Endgame, and there's a bunch of videos. We talk, we BS strategy, and we do specific strategy best ball things. So if you want everything that's in there, go ahead, because it's kind of tough to like just explain it all every single time. It would take at least 20 minutes every single time to explain it. So you can go watch the old ones on Davis's channel. Or Endgame's channel. We co-stream this, and then if you really want to get into it, you can go to our website. But
Yeah, there's
every week there's like 20 questions about that we've answered already. Not to be a dick.
Yeah, and then there's stuff there I don't think exists anywhere else. Not just like a few other people are doing this, which we have some things like that, but there's some things that just are, as far as I know, are not available anywhere else.
Yeah.
So.
And eventually I'll be rich.
The comment.
This one.
Yeah.
This is a good question. Is the goal to be exploitative on ownerships, or are you trying to represent optimal percentages? I assume optimal percentages.
Well, the goal of the tool is to figure out the optimal percentages. The goal of us as players is not to play like little robots, but rather to learn what we can from these tools and decide what we're going to use that. How are we going to use that information to draft better, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can go there.
But it's definitely not trying to be exploitive. Definitely not.
No.
It's trying to be an equilibrium strategy.
But I will reiterate a point that I've made a bunch of times that happens in this game specifically, where oftentimes there's a situation where there's no difference between an exploit and the optimal strategy. And that happens when your opponents make really bad mistakes, and then this obvious value comes to you that should have been drafted much earlier. And then the exploit is to just take it. And that is also the quote unquote optimal equilibrium play as well. It's the high EV thing. Yeah. So
they overlap sometimes.
They do. Because the thing to remember is that the quote unquote optimal I'm trying to compute is always trying to get the max EV. Always gets the max EV. That's all it's doing. The thing that's different about it is it's assuming everybody else is smart. That's what makes it interesting. So, right. And there's a comment here. For example, Chuba in the second round, because of the projection set, and the modeling, it thinks, oh yeah, of course I'm going to take it because, that's about when it should be taken and I get my fair EV. But yes, in playing against real people, if you see it never happens in the second round, maybe we don't draft him in the second round, right?
Right. That's the interplay because the Chuba Hubbard thing is the tool still thinking an EQ strategy. So it's going like, oh, holy cow, they fucked up. Everyone here fucked up. Everyone screwed up. They didn't take Chuba Hubbard yet. Where on the back end, it's thinking, oh, Chuba Hubbard is constantly getting picked in the second round or whatever.
Right.
And so it's like not a big deal.
And there's another thing you have to layer on top, which is like your own risk tolerance as a player, which is like maybe Chuba Hubbard should be drafted 100% of the time in round 2, but what percentage of the time do I want my entire slate to come down to Chuba Hubbard hitting his projection, Chuba Hubbard not turning his ankle, yada, yada, so on and so forth.
It's the double level of risk too. It's like, it's what you just said. And then there's the risk that my projections or tooling or model is wrong in some way. Right. So you have both of those risks to contend with. Right.
Yeah. And a benefit here too is when you're modeling exploitively, you screw up like a lot. Like it's very hard to guess exactly what's happening, especially in DFS. So using an EQ strategy kind of simplifies that for you, where it's like, well, this is how they should play. So what would I do in this scenario? Now, that I think, as I started at the top of the show, in this format, you probably do want some sort of ADP check, ADP exploitive piece added because of the predictive nature of knowing the drafts your opponents have already taken versus no one knows for DFS. So, maybe there should be some tweaks here.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
based
So,
on
all right.
just based on that.
You're gonna launch another one.
Yeah, let's hop in another one.
Fire. So while we're waiting this question, does the tool not account for ADP to know that Chuba isn't likely to go? No, it doesn't. That's something we have to do. It's trying to build its own ADP from the ground up. That's what it's doing.
And if you watch last week's show, we actually did try that. So we tried
We tried to trick it.
Right, where Chuba would have been taken wherever he was supposed to be. But it really doesn't matter because it's the projections driving that. So if Chuba's getting picked in the second round or not, an equilibrium strategy or an exploitive strategy is going to take him early because Cardi likes him. Bottom line.
Right, or whoever.
Or whoever.
Yeah, exactly. That is it. Right.
I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be back.
I wonder if your stuff. We have not got the answer to this question yet, which is I want to see what your stuff wants to do with Jaden Daniels, where he's projected so much better than every other quarterback.
I can look up a little thing for it. Okay, so he's 98.3% dress, which is basically 100.
Basically 100.
Modulo some noise. And then let me look at the stacking stats for him.
See, I bet his stacking stuff is going to be kind of low because McLaurin is expensive and he's really the only one.
Why can't I find? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. Oh, I didn't. That's because I didn't copy it. Excuse me. Jaden Daniels. He's 55% naked. Yeah. 42.6% with McLaurin, I assume, and then 2.2% double stacked, probably with a tight end.
Zach Ertz, yeah.
Or something
Kyron over Barkley again. People don't believe.
To answer this question, you can't see that, but we have a projected number on the Draft Caddy that Davis shows whenever he goes to the players chart or rankings.
Correct.
It would radically change Underdog if they presented that. Can you imagine if they just presented the current number at all times?
They basically do. If you've done a lot, the ADP is a very good barometer for how often guys are being picked.
Oh yeah.
No, but if that was just exact and live.
Exact.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Jane Daniels goes, so we don't get to test the fucking.
I kind of want them to remove ADP.
Yeah, I kind of would too.
They do in the primetime Palooza.
It's true. So it's Kenneth Walker is popping.
If we do ever get this tool going full blown for people to use, then that primetime Palooza would be a spot then. Right. Anything without ADP would definitely be great for a tool like this.
For sure. That's what I use it for. Kenneth Walker.
Right. We took Ken.
Okay.
Yeah, the sim is not accounting for opportunity costs. There's no ADP round. It doesn't know that.
We talked about that.
Yeah. It accounts for opportunity costs in the sense that it is trying to figure out if I switch to this position, what are the things that are going to be left in the other positions? It is doing that kind of opportunity cost. But it's not, it's basing it, assuming everyone is drafting like it does. So Drake London is winning. Then Chuba Hubbard, we're going to ignore that. Bijan.
No, I love doing London opposite Walker. This is so good, and this is not a common combination because Walker, they have the same ADP. They both go roughly around pick 10. So this is we are leveraging the shit out of the field right now.
Okay, it happened to be the number one choice at the end of my sim too. So that's
nice. Man. But we are so on the way. I think this might be the shipper. This might be the one that gets us to 50K.
I want to see that EV at the end here. Let's not blow it this time, all right, guys. We do not want to go back to Subway, all right? Um, can I make an analogy here, maybe for some of these people?
Please.
Is let's say the battle royale gods gave us the projections and said this is the best projection source, better than humanly possible, right? This is godly possible projection source, and it has Chuba Hubbard going in the second round. Do you take Chuba Hubbard in the second round? Of course you do, because the gods gave you the fucking the key, right?
Wait, I'm maybe not understanding. You're saying the gods tell us he should go in the
gods
second
won't
round?
go. The gods won't give you like the actual what's going to happen Sunday, but they'll give you the best possible projection sorts, given all of the worldly knowledge available that they only know. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
And then it's come second round, and are you taking Chuba Hubbard where the gods tell you to? The answer is, of course, you take Chuba Hubbard.
Now it's saying Chuba Hubbard. We could take him here. We've passed on him so many times.
Yeah, take him.
No, this is actually starting to be where I think he will go. And the three tight ends went, so there basically is no
reason to take.
In my mind, there's basically no opportunity cost, because you could make an argument for like any wide receiver starting here, pretty much, in my mind.
Okay.
So to finish the analogy really quick, so if you agree that having perfect projections, you would just take Chuba Hubbard, you wouldn't give a shit about ADP or anything else. Well, that's kind of what the sim does too. That's what any sim does. It assumes the numbers you're using are correct.
Dan is God in this equation. Yeah.
Well, it's just Hardy is.
This next comment gets at it too, where it says you wouldn't do that though, because so the analogy would be like, what if God further told you? He said, "You should be taken second. Furthermore, I can promise you that the field is never taking him before the fourth round. In this case, you don't take him in the second round. You take him in the third round."
Right. Yeah.
But that is something that my software does not capture. Okay,
right,
wait, we
exactly.
got to draft.
Yes.
It's saying Cousins and then Laporta and then
Cousins.
Higgins. You could do it.
Because it's got something up its sleeve, Davis.
No.
I'm not doing that. I've got it.
We had the shipper. We had the shipper, and he blew it.
So he's probably my most drafted quarterback anyway, but we will be able to take him in the final round.
Yeah, I know. There's no reason for that. So that's probably noise, honestly.
I will take Cousins in the fifth, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to know if it'll tell me to take Pitts. I want to know if it'll tell me to double stack him.
No, and this kind of like this is. I mean, it's hard to do
it's
the
like
simplest analogies, and some people still won't get it. But the gods are only giving you this information of the projections. They're like, but we're not giving you anything else.
Right.
Well, then you take Chuba second round.
Right.
Because that's all you know in this analogy. Now, if you add on the analogy of what Dan's saying, they go, oh, but also he's not going to be picked until X or Y round. Well, yeah, then you adjust.
Right.
And take someone earlier where you wouldn't get them because you're taking Chuba in the second round.
Right.
But just so, like his sim doesn't know that. His sim only knows.
That's right.
Cardi and 3 projection sources that it's rotating between.
Right.
But it assumes those are gospel.
Right.
As all sims do. Every sim on the market does that.
Somebody grabs cup.
I would love for it to tell us to double stack Kirk Cousins here.
It might. Let's see. Let's see if it does. I can lay you some odds on that. It depends on the rest of your team.
I don't think it will, but I'm going to take Cousins.
It's doing that like 3% of the time with Cousins.
All right. Well, I'm probably over 3% on that already, so I should keep that in mind.
Okay, it's just saying to take Cousins here. It doesn't matter because the next guy is a quarterback also. So, and what do you need? Oh, you should have taken a tight end because in theory he could poach one. So it didn't run long enough. It will eventually figure that out. But what did he get? He got Kincaid. Okay. So now it's saying Laporta, Pitts, Schultz, and this whole range, it just mixes a ton. It
Oh,
doesn't.
that's what it should be doing.
It doesn't care, which it makes sense. They're all about this. It's like
All right, Brian, I don't want to fuck this one up. Who do we take? We don't want to ruin the shipper.
I was working. Not paying attention.
I'll take Dalton Schultz.
Schultz. Okay.
Okay, good.
Schultz, I think is a little bit of a secret play. Like he probably should be going ahead of Laporta.
That'd be a good one to check.
It's giving you $8.38 for your team. Woohoo! Sweet.
We should at least fill out the application. We should at least fill the application out. We submit it. We'll see how the next draft goes, and then might have to submit the Subway application.
It has Schultz draft percentage at 24.8. What's the field doing?
What would it given us if we took Pitts?
Pitts $10.38.
Oh, I knew it.
But maybe the field is off on Schultz. What does the field have Schultz at? Do we have
pretty low.
Let me guess. Or let me look. Schultz is at 9.1. Let me refresh.
Okay. So that makes it more attractive. That's sort of a no drafting pick then, if you know the field is under.
8.5.
And then,
all right. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is it does. Chuba is just giving us all the EV there. That is true.
Well, the other thing to recognize is like, so with this kind of strategy, it's always going to pick the higher EV option, even if it's only a higher EV by a tiny, tiny delta. It doesn't matter the magnitude. It will always pick the best one, whatever it thinks that is. And the only time it mixes between multiple choices is when it can't tell the difference. So they all have the same EV. That's by definition. So just because it's slamming Chuba in round 3 doesn't mean it thinks it's printing. It just thinks it's better than the alternative. It doesn't reflect the magnitude of what it thinks that is. We can look at that later if we want.
I have a trivia question.
Ooh.
Dan, what do you think Njoku's nickname is?
Oh, I have no idea. This is the Browns tight end?
It's Chief, isn't it?
Oh, Davis doesn't even know. I only know this because it's in Madden. So if Madden's wrong, don't blame me.
Oh yeah, how is your journey back in the Madden streets going? Are you getting your ass kicked?
No, you didn't see my tweet yesterday.
I did, but I thought I got to teach you how to take a screenshot. Nothing more fucking embarrassing. Do you know how embarrassing?
How do you take a screenshot of your TV?
I don't know, but there's got to be a way to do it. Is there anything more embarrassing than fucking taking a picture of a fucking screen?
I tried to do it
year of our Lord
I could.
2024. That is like what your grandfather would do, like sending you a picture of the debates and being like, what do you think
it
about
goes with the bit. It goes with the bit too.
No. You need to take a picture on your phone and then load that image on the phone and then take a picture of the phone with the picture on it. That's the alpha.
I think you could just run it through Adobe or something and make it look.
I mean,
nice.
I'm
not doing all that.
You can do screenshot on your console. I know because I've done that before. But the other thing is you could just pull up your Madden profile also on your phone or your computer.
You screenshot on your console, and then how am I going to get that shit? I don't know where my fucking Microsoft password.
You can't log into your fucking email account.
To you. And plus, my email is probably from 1992.
Keep in mind, people. This is who you're losing to in DFS contest. This is who you're losing to. A man who fucking took a picture of his TV to post his Madden ranking. This is who's taking your EV.
And I'm beating you in Madden too. How does that fucking feel?
I'll give you.
Oh, I'm bad at Madden. I'm bad.
Oh, yeah. I would crush you. It would be.
I have the ultimate real world example. I was helping clean out my mom's house. And I found a printout and it was, she changed her password on Gmail. And then she got a web page that says, your password has been changed. She then printed that out, the page that said your password has been changed, and then wrote save on it with a pen.
Save.
It's not going to help, Mom. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet she'd take a picture of her TV to show you her Madden ranking.
She totally would.
Brian, I'm actually comfortable in my dotage being bad at video games. All I do now is I play NCAA 25. I play about 90 minutes a week. I barely play, and I run the triple option with Boise State in my dynasty, and that's all I do. I try and figure out how to run the triple option. That's it.
That is the fun part of college football for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's do another one. Enough chatter. Can we just get a good pick to take Jaden Daniels? I want
You want
to
to know what it does?
But the
Yeah,
nickname before someone's going to be like, why didn't they say the name? It's it's the Duke.
Okay, if it does,
I did know that.
Oh, the Duke. I did not know that. If I've seen very few Browns games in my market, that's for sure. Okay, if it doesn't give you Daniels, we can sim it out and see. We can just
it's almost by the way, Rakepayer is the best username on Underdog. That is a very good username. I appreciate.
That is good.
I appreciate that.
My favorite all-time DFS one was Biff Tannen. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's perfect.
There's a guy on this site who is Biff Tannen.
Might be the same guy.
My favorite DraftKings one is still Joe Buck safe word.
God.
It cracks me up every time.
Yeah, I could see Joe Buck being some sort of what is that called? BDSM or whatever.
But that's what you say to end all erotic content.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you this: people in the Wildcat don't care. You can get whatever ADP combo you want in the Wildcat. That's the $3 one. It's just vibes.
There's no better tool than playing where the bad players are.
Yeah.
So if one of these has bad players in it, then
your opportunity has arisen.
I knew it was gonna want him here eventually.
So we're gonna we'll see what it does. So we're
the best
taking Jaden now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The best UD username of someone who max enters is Mr. Poopy Butthole. That is definitely the best one.
That sounds like somebody's name for their cat.
You can't. Yeah. It's tough. I've seen too many because we kind of went from an era. All three of us were in this era of you start your online thing, you don't care about your nickname, but then you decide to start doing content, and then you care about your nickname a lot.
That's why I was the goat of this. People way back, but we can make this pick, and then I will.
It does not want it yet. It wants Drake London or a running back. So it's got Drake, Kenneth Walker.
Let's do London, then we can take Chuba Hubbard. So this is way back in the day. Kitchen makes his Soccer Dave. Dan makes his Mr. Tuttle 05.
Pete's was the worst.
Pete's was the FF comedy. What the fuck?
Everyone
had terrible. I was the one who had the foresight. It's 2010. I just find out about Daylight, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just making it. I didn't use my poker username. My poker username was from a book I used to like, and I said, no, that's stupid. I don't want to go by that. And I just made up my name. No one has ever been more prescient than me in that moment of realizing how smart that was.
Is that your sharpest decision ever? It's got to be up there.
Yeah, buying Bitcoin in 2013, pretty high up there. But
bad news: Terry McLaurin has disappeared from me, so we won't.
That's fine. I mean, we already tested what I wanted though, which was a player who's projected much better, Drake London, versus the combo of McLaurin, and it gave me the info I wanted.
Yeah, I think McLaurin was nowhere near the top. We can roll that back and let it run longer after this trip. Okay, now it's going to say Chuba Hubbard, which it does. After that, it says Tyreek Hill, Deontay Johnson.
That's a weird one. I definitely have none of this combo yet. Let's do that.
Sure.
And then I'm curious if it still wants me to take Hubbard even after having selected Deontay.
Right. My guess is yes. Because how many running backs have been taken to your left? Is going to factor into what it thinks. Okay, there's go Reed, Kurtz. So now, it's not Yeah, Chuba is still winning. Chuba Hubbard, and then DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Tank Dell. That's interesting.
Maybe after this draft that we could talk about.
Diggs,
I'm gonna do an IKB. I'm gonna take
Okay.
Pollard here.
Tony Pollard.
A miracle. What a miracle. He's doing an IKB, people. Who would have thought?
We're fucking 90 minutes into the stream. That was my first one.
Oh, give me a free.
Hey, to be fair, it was the third running back.
Somebody fact check this man.
There goes
I was told there will be no fact checking.
Maybe after this draft we could do a little contest sim kind of idea discussion because I do have lulls in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
I fucking slept on my glasses yesterday and I can't get them straight.
Hate to see it. Would you you fall asleep watching Kamala's Fox News interview?
I didn't even know she was doing it, but I did see some whatever tweets or something like obviously with the people I follow, they're like, she did a bad job. Was it bad or good? What happened?
I have no idea.
have no
I'm
idea?
so logged out of this. I can't.
When are we doing our next pod?
Do you have time after Lowell's?
I actually do. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
All right. It's gonna be a long fucking day for me.
We can postpone till next week. I'm super busy tomorrow.
You're busy tomorrow. Let's just do it. You just want to do it, or unless we don't have anything to talk about, then we'll talk about it after.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Who does it want me to take?
It's saying running back now. Robinson Jr., Mason, Jacobs, H.N. It likes.
I don't know what this means, but for some reason I like it.
All right, we'll take Robinson Jr. then.
We're gonna take H.N. We took Robinson last time. Yeah.
Okay.
That has to be pretty marginable. H.N. versus Brian Robinson Jr. That has to be very marginal.
I think all the differences down here are pretty small.
I'm interested if it wants me to take Ertz.
It does. Oh well, no, now it doesn't. It's popping around again. At this level of tight end, it's just like.
Let me tell you something. Zach Ertz is incredibly good in theory in the computer, and then we're gonna get onto the field, and it's not gonna be near as good. But I did take him.
All right. Well, we're back in Subway with $3.59. I think. God.
Double IKBs. I gave my opponent Chuba Hubbard, gave my opponent Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah.
So who did really well in this draft? Let's see. I don't know who the last guy took. That's so annoying, by the way, that it's random whether you get to see the last pick in your draft.
They gotta fix that.
They gotta fix that. And frankly, you should be able to click on any draft you're wearing and see the whole draft. Like, not just because it's annoying, but because transparency. You want people like.
It's the same.
I'm not convinced shady things are happening, but you want people looking at it.
Yeah.
So you should be able to click on every draft you've been in and see.
Didn't we learn from poker, people? Come on.
Yeah.
This is the best. The best cops are the best detectives are the players.
Yeah.
So I agree 1,000%. Especially the last pick. It's like that. That seems like that's just a bug.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah. But the fact that they don't have a page you can go to that shows the draft is a decision.
Davis, you should repeat that. You should say that on another stream. Well, I'll say it on Lulz too. Maybe they'll watch one of our shows.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in sort of a paranoid mood about it, I'd say they don't want to show the draft because they don't want to
get scraped.
Give away data for the screen scraping, and also they don't want to people second guessing their decisions on canceled drafts. Or saying you canceled this draft, why wasn't this one canceled? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's true.
What's
They eventually drop that data. So
no, storage is nothing. It's basically free. It's not a money
yeah,
saving thing. No.
yeah, I think Dan's right.
Technologically, this is trivial. There's no cost, basically. It's just
they should put them out Sunday after lock, maybe.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Something like that.
Davis, anecdotally, like, what is your rate of canceled drafts, do you think? Do you know?
Low. Very low.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't
I
know.
had more early, and then I got less of them. But
yeah, so I think there is a thing where like there is some percentage that is triggered inappropriately where like you scroll too much. Like if so, like let's say someone is just like a wacky guy, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna take a third round pick in the first round, a fourth round pick in the second round, and then all scrolls. That could be canceled, but yeah, you do get a lot of these. You get a lot of primetime Paloozas canceled. They're canceled at a pretty high rate,
and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be canceled. Those are exactly the ones where, like, even in theory, you know, if you look on Endgame, like, there are times when you should be intentionally giving up an obvious pick to get to a weird combo in those, and it's part of this a strategy, at least in theory. So, like, you don't want to be invalidating what is often a strategic choice. It's like, no, I'm not going to take this obvious next pick because I have this weird thing I have none of, and I haven't seen anyone else draft, and in order to get it, I need to hand the next player, you know, a high EV pick. I mean, that's part of the game. And so that's my concern with this sort of automated draft cancellation. It's not the solution I would want. I think I would want to analyze who's drafting with who, and looking at individual drafts and making sure there's nothing shady on that level. It's like, hey, I noticed when, you know, this guy and this guy are together, you know, these weird things tend to happen. Even that might not be a slam dunk either, but at least, I don't know. I've talked about this before. I think the solution I would have, rather than draft cancellations, is just to have the server enforce that you draft against different players. So, like, my solution would be, and maybe this doesn't work because there's such a small number of people doing a large number of drafts, but it would be like, you can't draft with the same person you drafted with for a certain time period. So if I'm in a draft with Brian, it won't put me in another draft with him for an hour or a half hour or something.
Yeah, but their stuff is not even that sophisticated. Like it works the same way sit and goes work, you know, but just who you sit down and you go. Like it doesn't, there's no filtering.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You definitely want to look at pairings of players, or more than one. It's so obvious because this is what the donkey cheaters do, is they think they're smart and then they go to their buddy and be like, dude, we could draft together. And then you do this and I do that, and then we benefit. And it's like, you don't think, dummies, that like everyone knows this. So like they should definitely be looking at pairs of players somehow. The one issue, which is kind of like reverse of the poker issue that I faced a lot at the median stakes, was at like 5-10, 10-20 back in the day, is guys would soft play each other.
Yeah.
And so like what would happen is, you know, you'd get, you know, Reg Bro on your left and his buddy on the right.
Yep.
And the left guy is 3-betting the shit out of you, but not the guy to the right. And like, I can't prove it, but I know they were like laying down aces versus kings or something. And these, you know, they probably wouldn't go that far to get busted, but they probably go, oh, when the guy 4-bets them, it's like unspoken truth. You know, like if I 4-bet you, bro, I have this or this. I'm never going to 4-bet you with blah, blah, blah. So just drop it. Something like that. Anyway, I don't know what they were doing specifically, but that was back in the AIM days. I guarantee they were all on AIM and saw playing the shit out of me. And I wasn't in a group of people like I am in DFS, which is one of the reasons why I'm in a group now, is not even, you know, mainly for fun, but for self-preservation reasons. So it's kind of the opposite though, where like if you, Davis, and Pete are in a draft, you will stay in your own lanes because you're like good, you know, and you're thinking about this, but that will lead to both your teams probably being better when they otherwise wouldn't have. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe
I think you get both dynamics. You get there are some ways in which it's better and some in which it's worse. Like on the one hand, you're unlikely to get a player who acts. A good player is not going to take a marginal unstacked wide receiver that fits perfectly in your team for no reason. They're not going to do that, whereas some rando might do that. So that's good. On the other hand, if you have a player to act after you who is sharp and using good projections, and you're considering going for a particular stack, the risk may be increased that he's going to poach one of the pieces of your stack because he knows it's a good play also. So now you have to worry that the smart person might take the piece that I need. So I feel like it could work in both directions. In that way,
like generally speaking, my comment always on this discussion is like you also have to like let bad players be bad. Like we're playing, like we can't, like otherwise we're all just paying the break. You know,
right?
Like,
you definitely want bad players. It's just sometimes they cost you money, and that's part of the deal.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, which is fine. But like if you're gonna remove all these games where bad players are being bad, then you're not gonna have any winners on your site, and you need some winners and some losers. Unfortunately, you know, I'm sure they want everyone to win, but they can't because they need to take profit. So yeah, let's definitely tone that down. They need to hire the right person. I think like a specific bro who probably has a lot of experience in poker, DFS, and it's gonna be tough to get that guy because they're pretty rare.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to have the answers. I just don't. I mean, to be fair, it's easy to poke holes in the current solution when, you know, you don't have to fix it and put in something else. Like, I just think it's worth thinking about a different way of doing it. I just find the current approach unsatisfying and wonder if there isn't something better out there.
I'd grant that for sure. We do not know what they're doing.
We don't know. Yeah.
Do you put these out on audio, Davis?
Sometimes, honestly, it depends on how busy I am. Like because it takes a minute to go and download it and post it. Yeah, so the answer is sometimes.
I will also just reiterate for before you leave that if you're actually worried about being cheated in these, and I'm personally not at all. Maybe that's naive, but if you are, the ones I would be worried about are the primetime paloozas, the 4-mans. I think it's more obvious to me how you could take unfair advantage of people in those. I think it would be hard to get a huge edge with just you and your buddy in the battle royale. I think you could get a small edge that way, but probably not a very.
I don't even. I guess your edge would be like maybe you make sure one account always gets the elite tight end or something. Like one account always gets Kittle, Bowers, or Kelsey.
Maybe
seems very marginal. Maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe not this week, but maybe there's a week where like there's 7 elite players, but or 6 elite players, not and no more, like a huge delta between player 6 and 7. And maybe when you have pick 6, you punt it off so that your buddy can get the elite pick at pick 5 and at pick 7 or something. But it feels pretty thin to me.
Yeah, and this comment I agree with. It's like I feel like most friends who draft each other want to beat each other. I think that's
what I was kind of trying to get at, the difference.
I think cheating at this for money is such a stupid enterprise to begin with that it's going to be very rare.
Yeah.
You can't. It's just not enough money in it.
You should be able to profile these guys. Like, it feels like you should be able to profile them pretty easily too. You know, like the badge bros and stuff. You know, you got like so much data on them. It's like it's very unlikely they'd want to ruin their reputation and stuff like that. And so it's like, I don't know.
I'm with you, Brian. I think it would be somebody's doing something really stupid.
It almost always is, Dan.
Yeah.
Even the biggest successful guys were dumb. Like Hamilton at UB, he was like a crackhead, cheating everyone left and right. I got cheated by him, and I it was like one of the few times I was like, what is going on in a 6-max game? He probably couldn't get a heads up a donkey at that time. It's probably like 2007 or 8, and this guy comes to the table. I've never seen anything like it. Just raising every single hand and never losing.
Yeah.
And then out of the blue, I get like a 5K, 10K refund one day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if it was that fucking time.
Probably.
It probably was. But anyways, point being, like even the legendary cheaters are dumb. Well, I mean, he did get away with millions, but he just did it the dumbest possible way.
Well, because oftentimes cheaters are not like a lot of times cheaters are lazy because they can't figure out how to beat the game. So yeah, it does end up being like the dumbest possible person.
It's self-selecting. You're right, because if you were smart, you just
beat the game. You just win.
Yeah. No, I mean, there is some overlap. Like,
you do find people though. There's another personality type that is incapable of passing up any edge, whether it's legitimate or not. So even games that are not played for money, there have been many cases in other games of skill like backgammon and bridge where there was little to no money on the line, where extremely skilled players cheated. So you do get that also, which is quite bizarre behavior for most of us. Like, we're like why would you do that? It's almost like a pathological thing. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I meant by overlap. So like,
okay,
there's still that Venn diagram of smart dude, dumb dude, cheater, you know, but I think it leans way more into the dumb dude.
Oh, for
They're
sure.
just obviously dumb cheating. They'll do like stupid bonus cheats, right? Like they'll use double credit cards or something and do 2 accounts. And it's like, bro, they have electronic, they can check and see that it's your name twice on these 2 accounts. They're going to ban one of them and refund your bonus. You know, just even simple, stupid stuff like that happens. I'm assuming so much more frequently than people are pointing out, like Bryn Kenny and Phil Ivey, who I'm assuming are both, you know, very intelligent. Phil Ivey is cheating is not.
Ivy did not cheat. He used every edge that the casino let him have, and then they tried to sue him for the money back.
Or yeah. I guess it depends on the terms and services.
Yes, not a lawyer. The Phil Ivey thing is more a question of did he defraud someone or not?
Well, wasn't it? That was a while ago, but wasn't it?
A while ago.
Are you saying he was in cahoots with the dealer? Or
I think that was the question. Was he in? I don't remember all the details. There's a thing with the dealer, and there's a thing with the manufacturer of the cards. I think also was involved.
Right, Tokyo's mentioned.
But that was the question. Not cheating in the conventional sense, but like, did he
the deck was flawed and he noticed it, right? Well, okay.
Well, that's the question. Was it just that he noticed it, or did he
make it flawed?
Or did he get information from someone who knew it was flawed and then use anyway? You can go down that rabbit hole if you're
right. And he was like
I'm on team Ivy against the casino, regardless of if he edge played them.
I heavily lean in that direction as well.
Yeah. It's like, I feel so bad for casino that they let themselves get defrauded. Okay, sure.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Yeah, I lean that way too. But just like hypothetically, is something fraud or not? But anyway, this is a long tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk post-contest Sims, and now you
Yeah.
have to
So
leave.
my keyword was going to be context neutral. And I wanted to get into that, and we do not have enough time. So maybe for the next one, and a lot of it, I honestly want to do behind the scenes. So I have a couple ideas, and I don't want anyone stealing them. But the context neutral idea, I'm interested in for all types of sort of sims, like even the ones we're doing currently. This was kind of the idea behind the ADP, approach. Because what I think, one thing that's very interesting, and the reason I would bring it up was something Dan said during a draft is like, we got to look and see how many running backs the guys afterwards are taking, right? Because then that would mean, we should wait or not wait on running backs. This is what a tool will tell you. Can we make that context neutral regardless of what Cardi thinks? Right? You see what I'm saying? And just extrapolate combos.
Right. I know where you're going. It's really interesting. I don't have the answer, but
something also, Dan, something we have to do next week is we need to incorporate the ETR stuff to some degree because ETR is such a market driver. So we need to download their projections or do something.
I do have that in. I had that in for today.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
So it is. Yeah. It is one of them. I'll just tell people that.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, boys. We are going to get out of here. There is going to be literally in 3 minutes, there's going to be a video published on this channel. It's the sports betting show with Rich Rebar this week. So if you wanted to give that a click, that would be awesome. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. If you have any thoughts on The Sims, if you have questions about The Sims, if you think The Sims are bad, if you think they're good, please leave a comment underneath the video. And we'll be back next week to keep drafting shippers. I'll see you guys all.
Hey, hold on. Before you go, I also have Lulz in 2 minutes. So
true.
Go over to Lulz, please, and watch us. And we're simulcasting on Endgame too. So if people want to go over, we do a bunch of content on this YouTube chat, which I'm going to put into the comments here.
And I'm rating you on Lulz. So if you guys just stay here, you'll be directed to Lulz. And
I'm gonna pee and then we'll do Lulz.
All right,
we have
later, everybody.
Fields on.
It's short king summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's short king summer.